Welcome to the Talk with Clads podcast. Your host is Katie Ann, an island girl on a journey with her guests to learn about their backgrounds, businesses, passions, experiences, life lessons, and wins. Come and laugh, cheer, learn, and plan with us. My friend, take some time to come and talk with Clads.
Hello, world. Welcome to Talk with Clads. My name is Katie Ann, and I will be your host for today. We have a special guest in the house. His name is Mr. Timothy Wolliston. He has over 30 years experience in the information technology industry, which 20 years of that experience has been consulting. So very excited to hear about Tim and his background. So everyone, please give Tim a warm welcome. Tim, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much, podcast land.
So Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself and also about your background.
Okay, a little bit about me. I am IT software developer. I migrated to going way back here, I migrated to the United States in 79, born in Britain to the proud parents of from the Caribbean. They're both were born in the sunny Caribbean, and they migrated to the England in the 60s, where half of the family was born. I am one of nine, and
family.
Yes, one of nine, and I fall somewhere in the lower of the nine, third from the last. So two younger brothers, and my siblings. The rest of my siblings are much older, and went to grade school, middle school, and high school in the Northeast, Connecticut, where we migrated to. And moved to Florida in 1994, where I've been living ever since.
So did you move with your parents from Connecticut to Florida?
No, I actually moved. I didn't like Florida. I visited Florida as a kid a few times with my parents when I was in school. And every time I visited, I just didn't like it. It's just like they had trees that looked like Q-tips, like, up north, you have those oak trees that span, both sides of the road, and just green and lustrous. And in Florida, it's like they just got these little sticks with little green stuff at the top. So,
are you talking about our palm trees?
Yeah, yes. Yes, but I still didn't like them because, it wasn't the greenery. But as I got older, and you realize that, the hurricanes do come through and wipe out the vegetations, and it takes a while to grow back. So, yes, I moved as an adult without my parents to Florida in 1994. I had my first child was born in Florida, and my second and my third.
So has you settled through did you do IT when you were in Connecticut?
Yes. Taking a step back, yes, I did do IT in Connecticut, but I went to what is called a trade school. It's known as a technical school.
Yeah.
So I went to that type of a high school. My parents was big on getting your hands dirty, so to speak, to make a living. Like, whether it's to physically do something like a carpenter or an electrician. So we went to a trade school, and that type of trade school, your freshman year, you went around and you did the different types of trades, cooking, a barber, auto mechanic, auto body, carpentry, electrician, you name it. And I settled on being a body repairman.
Oh, really?
Yep. So I settled on that for sophomore, junior, and senior year. And that's what I did and wanted to do when I left high school as a trade.
So what made you make the switch? Because that's a nugget right there. Because I didn't know that. Were you a body repairman for real?
Yes, and to this day, if you want me to, I can paint your car.
You can.
Yes, I can. I can repair your car. I can paint your car. I actually painted my mom's car. I painted my dad's car. Just for free, just because I wanted to change the color. So I did that for 1 year. It was funny. I was talking to a coworker of mine, and it's funny what motivates you, right? Talking to a coworker of mine back then, and getting out of high school, I was making as a body repairman, and this is in the 80s, early 90s, but late 80s, mid to late 80s. So I'm dating myself here. I asked my coworker, which I wasn't supposed to do. I'm surprised because I didn't know the rules, right? Etiquette working in the workplace, how much he made. And he said he made $21,000 a year. And I was making $12,500, and I thought I was making a lot.
So 21,000 in the 80s, that's what, probably like six figures, or
a little,
even like the cost of living.
Yeah, a little less, right? Because in the 80s, my parents' mortgage was $162.
Oh wow!
Right, for the house. So yes, so it seemed like a lot, but it a little, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And so yeah, 12,000. I thought I was on the top of the world making 12,500. But he was in the auto body business at that time. He had been doing it for 17 years. So I said doing the math, I said, man, I'm making 12,500 now. I didn't want to have to wait 17 years to almost double what I'm making.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew what I wanted my life to be like as an adult. I knew that I like nice things. And I knew that nice things cost money. Yeah. It boils down to that. So that got me thinking about, do I really want to do the body work? And then I went on for 1 year doing the body work, and I was painting cars and, wearing the mask. And, and coming home, you always had to take off your clothes and shower. And I looked at, when I took off my clothes and I was getting ready to take a shower, I looked in the mirror and I noticed, my face was yellow. My nose was yellow. My eyelids were yellow. And I said, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And literally, I quit my job like that Monday. And I enrolled back in school.
Oh, wow.
And I went to, because the technical type school was in my nature. And it worked for me. I found a technical school in Connecticut that taught computers.
Okay.
So it wasn't your traditional 4-year college, right? And that's all they did. They taught computer on the IBM. So basically, classes were from 9 a.m. till midnight.
Okay.
So you had the theory in the class, and the teaching was from 9 till lunchtime, which was 12. And then you had your projects from 1 o'clock to midnight to get your work done for the following day. So that got me into the IT business. And I chose IT because I didn't want to work with my hands anymore.
Okay.
I wanted to use my head, which I thought would be less stressful, just to make a living. And I wouldn't have to get my hands dirty and come home and have to basically shower twice a day. Now I'm in Florida, you have to shower 3 times a day. But yeah, that was my driving force.
Into choosing IT.
I wanted to work with my head and not my hands.
Okay. So when you chose IT, how long was the process with school? And coming out of school, did you have a plan?
So the process was, and I liked the process because it was 24 months, and it was, they didn't teach English or math or Spanish. It was just every day, all day IT. Mm-hmm. And so you learned a lot. So it was an accelerated learning. And So it was 24 months, and I didn't know my trajectory. I didn't know what that would look like.
Right.
At the end of my journey. Some people, they know ahead of time that, hey, I want to be in management. And then these are the stepping stones that I need to take to be in management. I didn't have that. I just knew that all I had to do was start somewhere. And then once I start, things will just get better from there.
Okay.
So no, it didn't have a plan, per se. Because I didn't know I would end up being a consultant. I didn't know I would end up working for, Fortune 500 companies. I just didn't see that far ahead.
Okay. So now you're into IT, or you've left school. IT is such a large sector. So, you have software developers, you have people that code. So what area of IT do you specialize in?
Okay, good question. So looking back on it, I wasn't purposeful in my plan, but as I look back on it, I knew what I didn't want to do, which the opposite would be you would think you would know what you wanted.
Right.
So I knew I didn't want to be the norm, so to speak. And what I mean by that is I didn't want to be easily expendable. So if you had a skill that was desirable, I knew at an early age that if 100 people in your circle had that skill, then your worth wouldn't be that much, right? And if there were just a handful, then instead of you looking for companies and interviewing and sending your resume all over the place, companies would pursue you because you were a handful that possessed that skill set. So I knew I wanted to be in that small group. So I didn't go for the easy path, so to speak, in IT, which folks would, whether it's fixing computers or whether it's, manning the help desk. You buy a computer and you call the help desk, and, that's a foot door. That's the entry level into IT. I didn't go to MIT, so I wasn't I didn't have the skill set to design computers, but I wanted to be the next best thing without going to MIT, and that's designing the software. So in essence, I had a plan, but I didn't know I had a plan, but it wasn't purposeful.
Got it. So expand a little bit more about the area of designing software. What are some things that you did or currently do with on that path?
Okay. So I am a software developer now, but I wasn't always a software developer. Unless you went to MIT or a school that's specializes in that, having a computer science degree, you had to start somewhere. And the entry level is being a computer operator. And back in the day, in the 80s, the information was stored on what we called a tape, a reel tape. And it was about 16 inches in diameter. And you would basically put it on what looks now today. Computers back then was the size of a refrigerator.
Oh.
Literally the size of a refrigerator. And if you imagine the refrigerator is about 7 or 8 feet tall, and you would put the reel tape on those large computers, and that's where it will store information or read information from. So my very first job out of computer school, my job was to, when the computer asks for it, I would go into the media room where all these tapes were stored. And if it says, hey, the computer said retrieve and load tape number, 1, 2, 3, 4, you would go get that tape, you would load it, it will do its thing. Back then I didn't know what the thing was. And I would load the tape, and when the tape was completed, it would say either load a blank tape to store more information or load another tape. And that's what I did I was working second shift. Being in IT, new or to the job, you didn't get the coveted first shift, right? You would have got second or third shift.
I think it's still like that today. Any job that you go in, you're not gonna get the pick of, the top picks. They're gonna put you typically in the ones that the tenured people don't want to do.
Exactly. So that's what I did. Just changing. It was a mundane job. It was, I knew that's not what I went to school for, although that's part of what I studied, but I knew I needed to start somewhere. And I did that for about 4 years, got familiar with the hardware. I was getting familiar with the software, just understanding, okay, yes, I'm putting this tape, but why, what is it doing? And that led me to continue my education while I was working. A company paid for it, and learned what it was doing behind the scenes. And that was the actual what coding is all about, right? So the simple way I explain it is if you go to ATM,
right,
and you put your card in and you punch in your PIN. Once you punch in your PIN number and you hit enter, behind that enter button, it's going to do stuff, and that's the code is going to validate your PIN number against a database, right? So
right.
And then once you say, it asks you, what do you want to do? Withdraw, deposit. So for every button that you press, someone coded something to happen. Meaning, if you say, I want to withdraw $20 and you hit go or enter, then the computer says, okay, let me see if you have $20.
Oh. Okay.
Then mathematical equation takes place, which is someone coded to say, oh, he has $200. Let's subtract 20 and put back 180 and then dispense the 20. So a lot of coding is done everything boils down to mathematical equations. And then once the 20s subtracted, then there's computer language that was coded by someone like me that says, do you want another transaction? Do you want, and then it just keeps on going. So it's coding, and machine language is event driven, meaning you ask it to do something, it'll do it for you. And it's the same thing with your car today. If you hit it, for those of us who have electronic dashboards, right? You hit a button, it just doesn't magically do something. Literally, someone coded it to say, oh, you want to turn the AC up or down or unlock the door. It's all computer machine language.
Oh, wow. And I see, would you encourage, because right now with the generation coming on, a lot of them are looking into and being entrepreneurs, and is IT a path that you would encourage?
Absolutely. There's two paths, and this is, well, let me not just say it's unlimited, the paths that an individual can take, but specifically, I encourage engineering, the medical field, and IT as a path, only because you can go to any state, any country, and with little effort get a job. Oh, okay. Any state, any country, recession, depression, or not. You're always going to someone's always going to be sick, right? If you go in the medical field, right? So you'll never be out of a job.
Very,
right?
Very. Yeah.
And then with IT and computers, we're living in a day and time where, data and computers are doing everything. Even those robots that are building our cars today.
Yes, I see.
Literally, someone coded the robot to do what it's doing. So
like your car is like you drive a Tesla.
yeah. Yes, I do.
So, right. So that, is someone in IT telling the car,
Yeah. And to me, a Tesla is nothing but a computer on wheels, right? When I go in the car, it recognizes, because of my cell phone, who I am, and it just validates me. I don't have to punch in a password to drive it. But if it didn't validate my phone via Bluetooth, the car wouldn't wake up, so to speak. So, I heard this, I didn't coin the phrase, but I heard it, well later on in my career as a professor. I was listening to a professor give a speech, and it was mind-boggling, but it made so much sense. He said that he was talking to students. He said that the job you're going to get when you graduate has not been invented yet. And that was, I had to think about that. It's like, then, so a lot of folks go to school and say, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what kind of job. So that's the I don't know part yet. But yeah, who knew that Tesla was going to be around? I didn't know Tesla or EVs were going to be around in the 80s and the 90s. So yeah, although I'm not designing for cars, but who would have known that job had not been invented yet? So it's just like, the IT, it's just the spaceships going into space.
Yeah.
Think about all of it. It's jet fuel, but it's computer and logic and IT that just makes it do what it does.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's the wave of the future. We live on our phones or iPads. Everything right now has some type of computer software in the background that's going on. So I wanted to go down another path because I'm curious and I'm sure the listeners are also curious about consulting.
Clad's Resources and Consulting values its customers. Our planner Footsteps to My Vision is a 13-month planner that can be used for 5 years. It walks you through SMART goals, SWOT analysis, action planning, and holds you accountable through 3 monthly check-ins. We work only with top quality materials, innovative designs, and verified suppliers, which are guaranteed to deliver to our high expectations, because when it comes to our customer satisfaction, there's no room for compromise. Made with high-quality PU leather and paper planner helps you focus on achieving your goals by giving you a sense of personal and professional satisfaction. Some of the amazing features of this product: Vision Board Planner, luxury pen, 8GB USB flash drive, wireless mouse, ultra-elegant packaging box, available in 5 stunning colors: black, red, gold, pink, navy blue. Material: PU leather. 13-month planner. Elastic band for easy handling. Our Footsteps to My Vision is available at Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, our website, and at Walmart. You may also follow us at www.cladsresources.com, Instagram, Clads Resources, Facebook, www.facebook.com/Clads Resources/.
You're listening to Talk with Clads. Find more resources online at cladsresources.com. Now back to the show with your host, Katie Ann.
So tell us a little bit about why you chose to do consulting. How did you start that journey?
Good question. Again, that decision was motivated by money.
The good almighty Benjamins.
Yes. At the end of the day, like I said at the beginning, I knew that I like nice things. And either you're born with it or you're so lucky that someone gives you things. For those who weren't born with it or don't have anyone to give it to us, the only other way is to earn it.
True.
And I'm not even getting into taking what's not yours, right?
Right.
So keeping it positive, you have to earn it. And I knew that I wasn't born into a rich family.
Okay.
I didn't have anyone in my circle in my life that would give me whatever I wanted. So there was only one other option, is to earn it. And having nice things, I wasn't just talking about material things. That's part of it, but I knew I wanted a family. I knew I wanted children. And, again, this is just the way my brain works. It's like I add things up and I multiply and I subtract, kind of like the logical part of my thinking. And I said, okay, if I want a family and I want children, well, they need somewhere to live.
Right.
Okay, if they need somewhere to live, I need a house. Okay, if I have a house, I have to pay and then I need to go to work. I need a car. And then I started adding up all of these things. And my gosh, these things cost money. And so to answer your question, I was working in downtown West Palm Beach, and the company that I was working for at the time was called Thompson Medical. They were located on the 21st floor of the Esperante building. That's the building downtown that has the blue cap. It was one of the only high-rises in downtown in the mid-90s. And that company was bought out by another company. And I was only at that company for 1 year. And it was like, I loved the job. And I thought, my gosh, I would never leave that job. And I grew up in the age where you had a job for 10, 20, 30. Basically, you retire there. It wasn't like today where
every 2 years someone's going. Yes. That's actually the new norm right now.
Exactly. I grew up with guys who were at these jobs where I worked at. They were there since high school, and they're in their 40s and in their 50s. So that was my mindset. And then in the 90s, things are shifted where companies started to buy each other up and split and sell, and that was like the thing. So here I am, new to Florida, and then the company that bought us was in New York, and they offered me to move to New York to work. And it's like, man, I just got to Florida, and I got used to the sun, and I didn't.
You became a Floridian
in a short period of time. Go figure. And I didn't want to move back to the cold, so the software that we were using at Thompson Medical, software is called JD Edwards. It's an ERP system, and ERP system is basically a software that's fully integrated. It does inventory, purchasing, sales, manufacturing. It's just a one-stop software that will do everything for a company. And the account manager was visiting our company at the time, and my boss knew. He was a very, very nice guy at that time that I didn't want to move to New York. And he just mentioned to the account manager, do you have any openings? And he says, yeah, for a matter of fact, he had an opening. So I said, great. It's like that was my shoe-in. But I didn't know at that time that it was for traveling and consulting. And part of consulting means that you go to different companies. So that was my shoe-in to consulting. So I, in essence, wasn't working as a consultant then, but I was working for a consulting firm. Working for a consulting firm for another 5 years. I got to learn how these consulting firms worked and operated. And a light bulb went off in my head one day and said, hey, I can do this.
Yes.
It was like, it's kind of easy. It was easy because I had the skill set, right? I had the knowledge and the know-how. So it was easy. So I just decided on my own back in 1999 that when my next assignment, the assignment that I was on, when it's finished, I would start my own firm and start consulting for myself.
Oh, wow.
So I opened my first company a consulting firm in 1999 and consulted. My first consulting gig was for a company called PSS, Physician Sales and Services, out in Jacksonville, Florida. And I worked there for, my first consulting assignment was for 3 years. And so this was in the 2000s. And it was an out of this world experience on many levels. I was doing the same software development, business analyst, but the income was just mind boggling. I was making a little over $30,000 a month.
Oh, wow. That's a very good income. So let me ask you this. What would you say is a common myth about consulting, and how do you debunk that?
In my experience, a common myth about consulting is it's hard. It's a lot of work.
Right.
Right. And it only appears to be hard if you're, I mean, you can be, I mean, if you look at these guys who are mowing lawns and they have a business, in essence, they're consulting because they don't have one client.
True.
Right? They're going from client to client. They lose clients. They gain clients. But if you're good at what you do, it's easy. It becomes easy. So that's one thing that I hear a lot. It's hard, and how do you do it? And then another myth was, it's a lot of work to get it up and running, and it really isn't. I actually, without knowing much, did my own incorporation.
Okay.
Right. I filled out the documentation and sent it to the state of Florida. Did my own federal ID. I asked some questions, but a lot of that stuff I did myself. And I just started and did it. And the more I did it, when I say it, I mean the consulting work, it was no different than what I was doing working for a consulting firm. And it was no different than working for an employer.
Okay. So how did you build that customer base?
It builds itself. If you remember early on in our conversation, I said, if you have a niche, if you're good at what you do, the work will find you.
Oh, some gems there.
Yeah. So I didn't have to pound on doors looking for clients. The word got around that as I did work for clients, and I did my work to the best of my ability, and more times than often, I went above and beyond. I actually did more than what they asked for, and it's kind of like going to the florist and you order a bouquet of flowers, and then it's much more than what you expected. It's like you have gratitude, you're surprised, and you would pay anything because it was much. So that's what I did for my clients.
Okay.
And then when they receive the services and the products that I produced, they had no choice but to recommend me the next time someone asked them, "Hey, do you know someone?" I was at the top of the list. And all of the assignments that I've gotten over the 20 years, it's literally been by a recommendation.
Right. So your quality of work sold itself. So
Absolutely.
What was your greatest fear going into consulting, and how did you manage that?
My greatest fear was disappointing my clients. My greatest fear was what if the work dries up?
Yeah.
That forced me, and again, this is a fear part, to work a little harder, work a little longer. And it was kind of like paying it forward for myself. I had an assignment, my longest assignment was 11 years. And that's unheard of to have.
That is a long assignment.
Absolutely. The average assignment is 11 to 24 months. This one lasted 11 years. I made a promise to myself that I'm going to really go above and beyond for this client. And one of the things I did was, besides doing a great job, I never billed them more than 40 hours. So there are times when I work 60 hours. There are times when I work 50 hours. But I will never bill more than 40. And I'm sure they appreciated that. And on top of that, they knew I was doing a good work. So in their mind, just from a dollar perspective, I was then an asset to them.
Right.
Not necessarily a liability, because the folks that I was doing the work for, they would have to answer to someone, their boss and their boss. And I realized that strategy worked out for me, being at that client for 11 years, because the owner of the company, when he was wanting to tighten the belt back in 96, 97, when the recession, financial recession was going on, they were looking for ways to cut. And basically, the way they did it, they looked at their expenses, from most expensive. And I will hear, stories that I'm told from my boss, like, my name would always come up. It's like, what's this line item? Why do we need this person? And my boss and his boss, it was easy for them to speak to the owners of the company of the value that this person brings to the company, right? So yes, my consulting dollars was high, but they had value.
Right.
So my fears turned out it drove me to work harder, but it paid off in the end.
Okay. So what advice would you give someone that wants to go into IT consulting?
My advice would be, make sure you love your job,
right,
or whatever it is that you're consulting for, because you don't want to wake up in the morning and, dread the drive into work or the train ride into work, or the bus ride into work, because it's at some point, I'm sure many people have said this before, like, there's not enough money in the world to ...
Right.
Because, they don't enjoy, the money's good, but they don't enjoy.
Yeah. There's no passion for what you do.
So you got to enjoy what is it that you're doing. And then, when you do have that thing that you're doing, and again, you could be consulting in IT or any other job, just make sure that you're good at it.
Yeah.
Because I figured out that it'll take about a year for someone to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. Because you can talk a good game and say, hey, I know how to do this, I can do that. But at some point you have to deliver. But just make sure that you're consulting in a field where you have some experience. And if you're looking for, the big payout, it'll have to be a niche business where not the average Joe can do it.
Okay. So what's been your best memory related to consulting?
My best memory, which turns out to be, in the long run, not a good one. But my best memory is when I first realized that I can eat and have somebody else pay for it. Ergo, my expense account.
Oh my God. Listen, and let's just do a disclaimer. If you fake an expense report, which I'm hoping this is not where this is going, there is a crime to it.
So as I traveled for work, I worked in Denver, I worked in Chicago, Philadelphia, Miami. These companies would pay my airline tickets. They would pay for my hotel, my car rentals, my food, you name it, everything. Dry cleaning, I didn't have to spend any of my own money. And you had a per diem for breakfast, you had a per diem for lunch, and you had a per diem for your dinner. And I pretty much was just oh, I'll take that, and I'll take that on the menu, knowing that I didn't have to pay for it; somebody else would. So, put on some weight until I figured out, you know what, just because someone's paying for it, I'll just back off of the eating. But
so you were not faking an expense report; you were actually using your expense report.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Let's clear that up.
Absolutely. And then I was, at the end of a hard day, you would have a drink or two, and they even paid for your drinks.
Yeah. I've worked for organizations that they do that, and I've worked for organizations that have a strict no drinking policy. They're not going to pay for it. But what has been your best lesson that you can share regarding IT and consulting?
I would say if there were, a top 10 or a top 5, my top lesson would be, no matter how good you are, never brag, never pat yourself on the shoulder.
Never pat yourself on the shoulder now. I stay patting myself on the back. And why do you say that? I'm curious.
If you do that, in my opinion, you silently build enemies within a group or team.
So are you saying patting yourself on the back in front of others, or because it's yes. Okay? I feel like it's okay to celebrate your wins.
I agree with you. Get in your car or in that train ride home, and do your happy dance. Do your I got this. Do that. But when you're in a group,
okay,
all right, we've heard it.
Yeah.
I've learned in my career not to do it, and I'll tell you what the it is limit the word I in your conversation.
Yes.
Right? I get it, and I'm sure you experience the truth, and this is my experience, so it's my truth, that you have 80% of the people doing 20% of the work,
mm-hmm.
and 20% of the people doing 80% of the work, right? So if you fall in the 80% that's doing 20% of the work, don't brag about that, is what I'm talking about, right? In a meeting or in a conference, or saying I did this, mm-hmm. I'm basically
taken away from the team,
right? So you alienate yourself, and then when I say you build enemies, is those people that would sing praises about you, then you will not find that in that team if you constantly say I.
That's true. There's
right?
no I in the word team.
That's why I said my top one is don't pat yourself on the back or don't sing your praises. But if you manage to have other people sing your praises, oh my gosh, just doors will open for you, because they would say, I know a guy that can ...
Okay. All right. Got it. All right. So let's talk about, because I am curious and I want to dive a little bit more into that. So do you think it's not, because I believe in saying, patting yourself, not in front of others, because then that just becomes like you're boasting. But is it okay for you to celebrate the wins? Not necessarily in a public setting, because how do you encourage yourself if sometimes when others won't?
For me, from my experience, it was two things. And one, the money was there. I'm not
You're big on money. I've heard you say money so many times.
It was there.
Yeah.
And I even said it to myself in the mirror. I'm saying it out loud now. When I cashed one of my checks, was directly deposited, but I said to myself, oh my gosh, I make more in a month than my parents make all year.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, okay, good job, Tim. Now let's do it again next month, and then so it kind of made me keep on going, and it became so easy. I'm just stressing on the easy part, because A, I was good at it, and B, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that's where the easy part comes in.
Okay. So, you celebrated the wins. You just celebrated it quietly.
Yeah, quietly. And, having the nice things, when I was able to have children, and, they dressed nice. They had nice things. And I always instilled in them, don't brag to your friends.
Be humble.
Be humble, because they might not have or be in that position to have those new sneakers or the latest jeans that you have. And you don't want them feeling some kind of way. So, just enjoy the things you have, but, don't showboat.
Okay. So let's discuss influence. Who have been the 3 most influential people in your life?
Me?
Well, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. I'm one of...
Oh, did you just... Oh my God. I just saw where this is going. Did you just say you are
Yes,
the...
absolutely. Yes. Me, number 1. And number 2, I can't say there's a number 2.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and say, Thurgood Marshall or some... I'm Black, African American, so I'm not gonna just pick someone in history to say and cling on to them.
Just along your path. That person doesn't have to be famous, but that person gave you some advice that kind of stuck.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was one person.
Yeah.
Right. So no, I don't have that one person that I in my mind that I cling to, but it was a lot of people. And some of which I don't know or remember their names. And
right.
What I mean by that is in the workforce. I mean, I still am in corporate America, right? So I spent the majority of my career in corporate America. And back in the 80s, there was what is known, it's limited today, but what is known as a mentor. So those of you who are privileged to have a mentor in your life, not everyone has that and cherish that because, a mentor helps guide you. But those who didn't have one, me, you really had to dig deep in yourself to inspire yourself, to push yourself. Okay. So that's why I claim me. But yes, I've had a lot of people in the workplace saying, "Hey, Tim, good job. I heard ... So there again, someone's singing my praises. Someone's talking about me in a good light. And then when word gets around that, you did a good job. When these people move on to other companies, they're going to remember you. And that's how I've gotten my assignments. They've called me, say, "Hey, I remember, Joe said, you did a good job for him." And they just knew I would do a good job for them. And I've never had to interview. I've had my resume, and I've had it over the years, but I really never had to interview for a job.
That's really good. That's very good. So, what is one question that I have not asked you that you'd have liked me to ask you today?
My failures.
Okay. So let's discuss it. So what's one failure that you'd say was one of your biggest lessons for you along your journey?
I don't have many failures, but I have some big ones.
Right.
And my biggest failure is what I took as my strength.
Right.
And that is being on an island by myself. And I got to the point where in work and in life, everything that I did and everything that I accomplished, in my mind, I did it myself, for myself, by myself.
Well, no man is an island.
Right. So I got to the realization that, oh my gosh, all these years I was doing everything when it would have been just so easy to team up with someone, right? Or a group of people to lighten the load. And so when I did fail at something, one reason could have been that I took on too much.
Okay.
When if I'd only asked for help, and I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness, right? And I didn't have to look at it that way. I could have asked for help to say, "Hey, could we team up and not look at it like I needed to a push in a certain direction or someone to lift me up. But it's that. So that's one of my weaknesses. Even to this day, is asking for help.
Okay.
But because it was a matter of pride. Because, when I create things, develop and design things, it's a matter of pride to say I did it. It's like, okay, look what I did. It was like, and you marvel at it and say, okay, you go on to the next thing. But you don't get that level of pride when you say we did this, like a group of people. So I look at Elon Musk when he gets up there and he does his speeches, and, he's always congratulating his team of engineers, and he's never taking credit for himself,
Right.
even though, you could look at him like a genius, like, look what he's done and created. But he just had a lot of smart people
Behind him. Yeah, he was smart enough to hire
Right.
smart people.
So, and, he didn't do it himself.
He sure didn't.
Right. So, that was one of my failures. And my fear of failure was a driving factor in my successful career. And I didn't have to have that fear. If I just knew that I did the best job, that everything will work out.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, you have dropped some gems in this interview. Where can our listeners connect with you online?
They can connect with me on my www.timothywolliston.com. It's a website that has my profile, has my resume on there. Although I am not consulting these days. Funny story, I stopped consulting and I took a full-time job prior to COVID hitting.
Right.
So everything worked out. I actually am working for a company in Boca Raton, Florida. So I'm not traveling. I'm not heading to the airport every week. I'm not leaving out of a suitcase.
Well, you're having that work-life balance now.
Yes. We're married, 3 children, newborn, one under 1 year old. So yes, work-life balance.
That is important, especially with the baby.
Absolutely.
That's under 1
year old. Yeah.
That's a little work in itself. So thank you so much, Tim, for taking the time to sit and have this discussion with us. And to my listeners, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with Clads. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Clads Resources and online at www.cladsresources.com. Our planner, Footsteps to My Vision, is also located on our website or on Facebook, Instagram, or Amazon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, keep creating your footpath to your vision.